It all boils down to this. Do you trust yourself or do you not? Do you trust yourself enough to be the king in your own life and to trust that the decisions that you're going to make are going to be inherently valuable to yourself and for the people in your life, specifically this woman, or not? That's really what it comes down to. And I'm not justifying that women's body count does not matter necessarily or that women shouldn't be held accountable for their promiscuity. It is simply the case that the more you integrate your shadow and your anima as a man, the less concerned you are about body count of a woman, because you see the divine essence of yourself in that woman as well, and you know that you can either lead the woman and guide her, or you can let her go. So if you know this and if you trust this, you're not going to be moving from a place of fear. Now, instead of being with the woman, if you're just going to be with the woman, because a lot of the no hymen, no diamond crowd, as much as I understand these people, and I was one of these people at one point as well, I was so caught up in wanting a pure woman that I was missing the perspective of how women who are virgins doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a good woman for you. And it's not to say also that a woman who is promiscuous is going to be good for you either. Definitely not. But behaviors matter, okay? So is a woman who, let's say, okay, before we get into that, let's go into the psychological literature for a moment. It is simply the case that the more you sleep with a woman the more you sleep around as a woman or as a man, it's going to decrease the probability of happy relationships down the line. That is statistically proven. Okay, that is a scientific fact for all intents and purposes. That is a psychological literature fact. However, even though it decreases the probability, and especially for women, after one sexual encounter, it decreases from like 70% chance of finding a happy relationship to like 40%. Now that's psychological literature. That's not just me thinking this way. That is psychological literature. So that's something to look into as well. For men, it goes from about 70% to about 55% or so after one sexual intimate partner. I don't even like the term partner. I hate the term partner. We're not partners, woman. We're a team. We're a team, and I'm going to be the coach here. I'm going to be the star captain of the team. You get to be part of this team. That's the way that I see it. And this is not a derogatory way to view women. It's just that is the case. Okay? Because I'm not promoting that type of thing either. But I'm saying is that if you can't trust yourself to choose the right woman for you, no matter her body count, then you probably aren't ready for a relationship. Now, I'm not saying that the goal should be a relationship or that the goal shouldn't be a relationship. I'm simply saying that godly bad boys are not worried about a woman's body count, because they know that even if they ask the woman what her body count is, she's probably going to lie to you. She's probably going to lie, because she doesn't even know she's lying, right? She might not even know she's lying. She might have, we're going to get graphic here, she might have sucked a couple different you-know-whats, and she doesn't count that in her head because she didn't get penetrated, quote unquote. Or she might have had anal, and yet she doesn't count that because it's not, the Pink Palace. So who knows, right? Who knows how many, but it doesn't, and when I say it doesn't matter, it does matter. But when I say it does matter, what I'm also saying is it doesn't matter. It's a paradox. The simple fact is that can you trust yourself to lead a woman or not? And can you see the divine essence in her or not? And can you trust yourself to lead her to see the divine essence in herself or not? That's what's most important here. A lot of men with the no hymen, no diamond crowd are moving, instead of just wanting to be with the woman, they're trying to think about ways to not let her be promiscuous. Ooh, you know, how do I make sure that she's, going to be righteous to me? How do I make sure she's going to be loyal to me? Well, first, you have to trust yourself as the god of the bad boy to be the type of man that has all the leverage with woman. No matter what your situation is in life, whether you're broke, whether you're rich, whether you're in between jobs, or whether you're good looking, whether you're not good looking, whatever the case is, you have to just simply trust that you being who you are, as you are, is enough. Okay? You hear what I'm saying here? You hear what I'm saying? Are you enough for yourself or not? Now, it's interesting because the Regal Change old timers here are going to be very familiar with the Regal timeline theory. Now, the Regal timeline theory in part came about from me being more, you might say, misogynistic. However, it's not that. It's just that I was seeing women for who they really are in a more deep and practical, profound level, rather than trying to control them to be how I thought that they were supposed to be based off what I read in the Bible. Okay, because I was so stuck in thinking that women should be biblically based, not realizing that, like, that's just not how we are in today's day and age. It's just not. And is the biblical woman who are acting in certain ways, are they actually reasonable role models for women today? Now, I would say yes. However, we also have to see that getting too caught up in the gender roles can be a trap of the mind. Now, it's not to say that there are not reasons for a man to do certain things and there are not reasons for women to do certain things. Okay, but I love to cook. I'm actually a better cook than most women that I've ever met. Now, this could be for one of two reasons. Number one is women just are not taught to cook nowadays. And it could be number two is I'm just a better cook than most women. Who knows, right? Maybe both. Maybe both. But I like my food. I like it. I like to cook for myself. I like to make something nice for myself. I like to treat myself, okay? And there's nothing wrong with you knowing how to do certain things for yourself as a man. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's important for you to learn how to take care of yourself properly and orient yourself to ensure that you are able to take care of yourself if you need to. However, it's also the case that when you are living in the domain that we are, it's simply not going to be about how you do things for the reasons that you do things, or it's just going to be, are you being for the sake of being, or are you trying to get something from these women? Okay, are you trying to get something from them rather than just be with them? And be with them in the soul of existence, from the perspective of the soul of existence. So, can you be in the perspective of the soul of existence while you're with that woman? Because that's what's going to be most important. You're not going to be so focused on orienting yourself in a certain way that is about, well, it's just about isms. You know, it's about isms. It's where, is it about this or about that? It is about a woman's body count. It is about this. It is about that. Is it though? Or is it about you're trying to control the situation based off of how you think that you're supposed to control the situation. Okay? Now, this is something that I know that I myself have struggled with in the past. Okay, I've definitely struggled with that. And I didn't need to struggle with that. That's one of the reasons why I'm making this video, is for the godly bad boys, or the aspiring to have the perspective of the godly bad boy, to be in that godlike mastery frame. It takes a certain perspective. Like, you don't really know something until you know it. And this is not about giving up your standards. Okay, this is not about giving up your standards. It's not about trying to have something for the sake of having it, or trying to be like, you know, it's not about lowering yourself. It's about recognizing what truly is and what truly matters. Because if you're focused on what is, then is this woman capable of being loyal? Like, for example, let's say maybe she's not a virgin, but she has had relationships for most of her life. Like, maybe she's 24 years old, 25 years old, and she's had like 2 boyfriends in the span of 60 years. And yep, she slept with both of them, right? She slept with both, so she's not a virgin. However, she's very capable of being a loyal woman. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, if you meet that type of woman and you see that she's capable of caring for you and nurturing you, like, would that be a better option than the virgin that doesn't know how to cook, that's kind of entitled, that uses her virginity as a way to try to extract resources from you? You know, it's like, which of those 2 scenarios, like hypothetically speaking, would be better off for you? Even if the woman is like 20 years old. If the woman's 20 years old, she's virgin, but she is utterly and completely trying to extract everything because, well, let's look at the Bonely Cans models. Okay, there's a Bonely Cans model that is very famous. Okay, her name, what is her name? I think it's a good thing that I don't know her name, but at the same time, yeah, it rhymes with, how do we say this? Loafy grain. Loafy grain. Okay, so here's the thing. Loafy grain has what, like hundreds of millions of dollars at this point because of her Bonely Cans account. And she claims to be a virgin. But would you want that type of woman who is actually a virgin, technically speaking, right? Like, hypothetically, allegedly, she's a virgin, but she's got a Bonely Cans account? Or would you prefer the woman who is 24 and yes, she's had a few boyfriends or a couple boyfriends, but she's very capable of love, and she's with the soul of existence, and yeah, she's worked on herself. She's understanding and understanding how to live properly and orient herself properly so that she can actually experience life with you. She wants you because she wants you. Which of those 2 scenarios would you prefer? Now, of course, these are drastic polarities, but that's the point. Is sometimes you have to take it to extreme to get the point across. So this is why I don't think it's necessary to really be concerned or worried about body count. I don't even like that term. Like, it's so gross. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with healthy expression of sexuality, but it's also, yeah, there is something to be said for how psychologically in the literature women do drastically decrease in their potential for happy relationships the more intimate sexual partners, as much as I hate that term, I do not like that term, but as the more sexual partners they have, let's say sexual individuals that they experience. Sexual individuals that they experience, the more that they have, of course, yeah, that's going to be, yeah, of course, it's going to be a factor for their long-term happiness. That is psychological literature. But we don't need to concern ourselves too much with that if we can trust ourselves. So that's really the creme de la creme of where I'm coming from. And I wanted to make a video about this specifically because of the post that I made earlier, which was on my, the Regal Change channel, where, it kind of made me start scratching my head and thinking about this, because it's like, I guess a lot of men are like, we've just had so many experiences, and I know I'm including myself with this, because I definitely feel it. Like, the last week or so has been just a headache for women. I mean, they're the ones reaching out to me, and then they cause all these random things, and it's just like, okay. But we have to keep our heart open to this stuff. I mean, that's the key thing with man, being a man, is how can you keep your heart open while not being taken advantage of? That's really the key thing that a lot of men have a really difficult time finding center and balance with. And as someone who practices godlike mastery, yeah, I mean, even for myself, this can be a very, it can be very challenging sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I can experience it, I can feel what I feel, and then I let it go. Because I'm not concerned, I'm not attached to the outcome, let's say. I'm not attached to anything that is going on. I'm just being just to be. I'm being just to simply be. So the question is, can you be to simply be? And can you be with a woman simply to be with her? To look at her from the eyes of the soul of existence, and to see that she too is divine in her own way? Or are you going to be cascaded into despair and oblivion because of your bitterness from the past experiences and trauma that you've had? You have to integrate the shadow, you have to integrate the anima. And this is where the Godlike Mastery offer that I have, and then the integration of the shadow class, as well as the new integration of the anima and animus class that I'm putting up in the Regal Academy soon, comes into play. All right, so it's about how can you trust yourself enough to be in the presence of life itself. All right, so that's the perspective of the godly bad boy. And I hope with all that being said, this video was useful and insightful for you. Stay blessed. Peace. Until next time.